All right, guys. All right, what we're going to do today is a basic bar chord lesson. What a bar chord basically is using two notes or two strings to go ahead and form the sound of a chord that would normally be in an open position. You actually used a bar chord in the Basically Basic Blues lesson. The Basically Basic Blues lesson riff sounded like this. Right there when you went to that shape, this is a B bar chord. And the reason they call it a bar chord is because if you'll notice, your fingers are kind of barring across the rest of the frets. Well, a full bar chord is actually played using by barring all your fingers across the strings here. What I'm going to teach you today is just using two strings. All right? These two strings will emulate the sound of an open chord and allow you to play chords all over the neck to figure out most rock and roll songs. All right? Let me show you an example. Here's a G chord. That's a G chord in the way you can either play it this way or this way. that basically is, well, it's a G chord, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to teach you the bar chord of what this G chord is. All right? You're using the root note of the G chord, which is the G, right here. 6th string, 3rd fret. All right? And that's the dominant note in the G chord. All right? What you're going to do is to play a bar chord, you're going to use that root note of the G on the 6th string, 3rd fret. And you're going to play the next note is on the 5th fret of the 5th string with your ring finger. Play both of those together, it sounds like this. Now listen to the sound of both the G and this bar chord. Same sound, same chord, same note. However, not nearly as dynamic because you don't have all of the other strings kind of coloring up the sound, right? But in rock and roll, you're mostly using these bar chords because you've got distortion and other things in there to kind of pretty it up a little bit, right? Make it sound a little bit better. It sounds a little dead on the acoustic. But yeah, that's basically it. There's your G, and there is your G bar chord. Once you've learned this shape, you're going to use this shape all over the neck. Case in point. Let's start all the way down on the 1st fret, right? And move all the way up, playing that same shape. You've mastered about 7 chords there with just using one shape. Next thing, you can use this exact same shape that you're playing on the 6th and 5th strings and move it right up to the 5th and 4th strings. Okay? We'll start by playing a C in the traditional way, and now move it to a bar chord. We will take that C, the root note of the C chord, and use our pointer finger on the 3rd fret to play it on the 5th string, and use your ring finger to play the 5th fret of the 4th string. Play those two strings together. Now you've got your C chord. Get the idea? So instead of going bar chord, just by using two fingers in the exact same shape. Take that one step further and go to the 4th and 3rd strings and use the same exact shape again. Pointer finger, 3rd fret, 4th string. Ring finger, 5th fret, 3rd string. Play those together. Right? So now you've got one shape, 3rd and 4th strings, 5th and 4th strings, 6th and 5th string. Now expand it. playing chords all over the neck. Basically, every rock and roll song, regardless of the chords that are used, can be copied or emulated using these chords, so it sounds basically the same. Iron Man from Black Sabbath. Smoke on the Water, Deep Purple. Other things that I threw in there, but it's basically the same thing. Once you start exploring and listening to the chords and the sounds that you're making, you're going to recognize some rock songs that you know, and start mixing these chords around, and you just come up with things. Just make it up along the way. If you got an ear for music that you can hear what a melody line sounds like in a song, capture that and find where the note is by simply listening to the song and continuing to play it until you find the note. You can pretty much figure out what the rhythm of the song should be and use that same shape. All right, so that's the easy rock lesson of bar chords. How does that translate into a song? You requested to see Dr. Love, right? So Dr. Love is going to use these bar chords, but it's also going to use something called muting, and we're going to teach that to you now as well. Dr. Love basically sounds like this. It's the opening chord shape. What you're basically doing is starting with a E bar chord, which is going to be the 5th string, 7th fret with your pointer finger, the E, and your ring finger on the 9th fret of the 4th string. Play that together. You're going to play the chord, stop it, then you're going to mute twice. How do you mute? You may have done it accidentally when you started playing guitar because you weren't able to press down the notes enough. Let me show you my hand over here as well. You're taking your picking hand and using the fleshy part of your picking hand, keeping it against the strings. At the same point, instead of pushing the whole chord down, you're letting off slightly on the chord while still having your fingers there and just picking to make that sound. So in order to do this Dr. Love type of vibe, you're playing the chord, stopping it, and then muting twice. Then going on to the next chord. So you've got more in there. But start here. Start with learning how to play these bar chords in that opening sequence of Dr. Love. And then we'll get into the chorus, solo, things of that nature. But right now, if you can master these bar chords, you should be playing songs all over the place, all right? Peace out.